I love New York. How can you not love a place that is so hospitable? They pay the bills by overpaying for your old stuff and then watch as you use that stuff to battle back and win a match. What a fantastic match it was by FC Cincinnati. And what a great week for the fans. From jumping up and down on Saturday to walking around happy all day Monday, you have found your way into Cincinnati Soccer Talk, the podcast that has covered expansion, Open Cup runs, depression, and finally the payoff. I'm your host, Boston Brazel, and we are having a blast. The city is having a blast. We may not be able to host the match here, but bar after bar after bar was packed to the brim this weekend. I couldn't stop watching all of your social media videos, from Ryan House to the pitch to TQL Stadium to people running around their living rooms celebrating. Soak it all in, because come Thursday, we tuck the smiles into our pocket and get back to business. At first, it felt like house money. Now it feels like we've got what it takes. Let's get our co-host in here to talk about all the action and all the action to come. First up, he went to New York via train. Welcome in, Nate Gilman. How you doing, man?
Good. Yeah, I'm excited to put my fan hat back on here a little bit after doing the more official coverage this weekend, which was, don't get me wrong, still a lot of fun. But I was it was a bit of a struggle at points in the press area to keep it together.
Yeah, I bet, man. It's the hardest part about being in the box if you are also appreciate this team. And I appreciate you stepping up and going to the press box for us. You heard from players, coaches after the match. How was the vibe at Red Bull?
It was great, as you'd expect. I think everybody was really happy, obviously, but not. It didn't feel like some of those playoff celebrations that you see in other sports. Where they didn't maybe expect it to happen. It seemed like everybody was still looking ahead till Thursday, but definitely enjoying themselves a little bit on that trip home.
Right. Yeah, they look like they're having a blast on the plane, a locker everywhere. I could see. Rupesh bringing up a great comment. You had an article this week from Backheeled Soccer. You big time cheating on us a little bit with those big time authors out there.
I'm just trying to spread the gospel of this turnaround.
Yeah,
wherever I can.
That was pretty cool. I saw some people posted on Reddit even, so got some traction. People, there are a lot of fans out there. Need to hear the good word of FC Cincinnati. So great work on that. Next up, I haven't seen this guy happy for a while, and it's weird. Ken Hedker, welcome into the show.
Am I happy? Am I ever happy?
I know.
Let me tell you the bad of the game. No, I'm just kidding. I'm jealous because Boston and Nate got to go to New York and watch a playoff victory. I mean, I can't imagine what that felt like. And Nate, I know you weren't able to be quote unquote the fan, but as a fan in the stadium, just feeling that like we stuck it to you in the opposing team, the enemy's home turf. So, I mean, how awesome was that? And I'm happy to be here. I mean, we're playing with house money. I guess I should keep my mouth quiet on that one, but yeah, we're playing with house money. This is great.
Yes, I will say it looked like the away section was bumping. I look forward to hearing the first person perspective from Boston, and then there was a lot of orange just around Red Bull Arena, including some people pretty closely behind me who were definitely enjoying themselves. So that was cool.
Yeah, I made the comment during the game to somebody next to me. I said, if we could gather all the FCC fans in this stadium, we'd have quite a section. But because of the way their ticket sales went, you could kind of be anywhere you wanted, and a lot of FCC fans chose to get better seats or have signs down closer to the field. So Nate's right, we had a sparse mixing of FCC fans kind of everywhere except for maybe the supporter section. Let's bring in newly married Jeff Tebbets, who left us for a bit to run around the world with his bride. Welcome back to Reality, sir. I mean, if Reality's FCC winning playoff games, not too shabby.
No, it was a pretty good weekend, a pretty good 2-3 weeks, if you ask me. I mean, I went over, spent 2 weeks globetrotting with my brand new wife. in Italy. And while we were watching AS Roma with their 2-1 victory, I was following all of Decision Day on my phone. By the time it got to 4-1, I'm like, okay, I can put it down now. I think we're good. I still kept looking at it. It's like, I know this team. I've seen them blow 4-1, 3-goal leads before. So I was not taking my eyes off of that. And then when they won that, I was happy. When they won against Red Bull, I was so happy that I took my shirt off and ran up and down our street and, just swinging my jersey over my head. And then I reminded myself I had a meniscus issue. So I ended up hopping back home. And
I pulled down the shades as you were doing that.
a lot of
I didn't want to see that.
just the opposite. A lot of people pulled up the shades. They're like, what is that? He's not right. But great weekend. Blink was awesome. Got to go to the casino recommended by Boston and got ourselves $150 after it. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah, great weekend overall.
All right, that's good to hear. All right, let's get into your best and worst. New York Red Bull FC Cincinnati 2-1 win this match, advance to play Philadelphia on Thursday. Nate, we will start with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, my best is just overcoming the New York Red Bulls this year twice. Two pretty choppy, ugly games. And Saturday wasn't exactly an exception to that, but they found a way to win. And that I'm sure we'll definitely get to it as we are later in the show. But to go on the road and beat a team that you'd really not looked very good against this year. I mean, I know there were 2 draws, but two of the less inspiring performances, I think, from FC Cincinnati this year. They just get muddied down in midfield and turn the ball over a lot. So to go on the road and overcome that was absolutely my best of the week. And then worst, just the kickoff time. I'm sure we can debate whether or not Red Bull Arena would be packed to the gills if there was a more amenable time rather than noon on a Saturday. But it was just not a great time to be out there to be watching. I mean, the weather was great, but you really want those playoff games to be in prime time with a national audience, and that didn't happen this round. Thursday will be in prime time, but it's Thursday, so maybe in the Eastern Conference Finals we'll get that weekend primetime game to look forward to.
Yeah, noon, not exactly the best time to play soccer. However, it did equal a win, so now I'm too afraid to put that game in any other time slot if it had to be replayed. Jeff, we'll go worst and best, sir.
We'll go worst, and the worst should be pretty obvious. 12 minutes? 12 minutes of extra time. You're telling me that Lukinas was on the ground for 12 minutes. I mean, I know we're talking about energy drink soccer, but it felt like the energy drinks were being served in very brittle glasses. I mean, there were people that were laying on the ground as if they had been, cut under by a sword or something. I mean, there was so much dilly-dallying that in the end, it actually helped us out because the 12 extra minutes meant that we could bring on our guys and soak up clock the same way they tried to dilly-dally for 12 minutes during the game. I don't know where those minutes came from. I was planning to go and look at the things again, just to see how many minutes there actually were, but that is ridiculous. The best to counter that, Pat Noonan's substitution patterns worked like a charm. I mean, he brought in 2 guys in the first pattern around 70th minute. Kubo came in, gave you lots of progressive work up the middle when you need an attack. Santos came in for Brenner, and a lot of people were sort of scratching their heads. Why Brenner? Why not Vasquez? It was one or the other. But you needed somebody who had speed, and Santos gave that to you and not to mention he plays a lot like Lukinas played. He can give you glass. He can get hit, go on the ground, draw out a yellow card, and his style of play fit exactly the style that they wanted for an attack. And then the last 3 substitutions were all in that 12 minutes period just to soak up time. So I thought Pat Noonan played a really good match in terms of organizing his substitutions. We'll see how well that works when he faces his teacher in Philadelphia.
Good point. We're going to dive into that 12 minutes a little bit later because it's it needs to be talked about and part of New York's issues, because you wonder why they get knocked out 13 times in a row. I mean, I think we see a little bit about that. Real quick, let's get into your best and worst. Scary Larry on YouTube. We won our first playoff game, of course. That's the best. Worst, only a handful of fans in the stands to witness it. New York doesn't deserve 2 teams. Hot take there from Larry. Definitely should have fans in the stands for a playoff game, right? It doesn't. I mean, I can tell why MLS kind of
Poverty club.
didn't
Poverty
kick that one
City.
national.
It doesn't make sense to me because that was like college football time right there, noon on a Saturday. There are no college football teams in New York. Are you kidding me? Rutgers? No.
Yeah. You know what bothers me a little bit is you got New York City, which their fans are in an unfortunate position of they don't have a good stadium and there's nothing they can do about it except pray their ownership group one day wakes up and gives it to them, or New York finances somehow magically work with real estate and get the stadium. Red Bull is just, they have a lot less to complain about. They had their home for such a long time. So you kind of wish that was a little bit better for them. Jose on Facebook, best gutsy win, first playoff win, worst Red Bulls anti-soccer. Oh man, it's hard to watch, isn't it? If it's your team, okay, but if you're a neutral watching that game, yikes. Clifford Adams, best, goes without saying. Everybody said it before you, Clifford. Worst, Pat Noonan is coach of the year. MLS can suck it. That's a valid take. I think he's not even up for nomination, right? So we talked a little bit about that last week. Bob Ryan, best, watch party at TQL. Worst, New York Red Bulls. I asked about that watch party because I'm theoretically interested in going to the Thursday one. So I've heard some good reviews about that. Discord had great things to say. So that's pretty cool. Other people accusing Jeffrey Tibbetts of stealing their best and worst. Nate, I don't know if yours got... No, wait. Sorry, Ken. I don't know if yours got stolen or not, but let's get into it.
Well, one of my favorites was just actually somebody saying anti-soccer. I think it was Jose, and I think there was a line that somebody says, New York Red Bulls are the anti-matter of soccer, and nothing good comes out of it. So I love that line. But no, my best is Obi Nwobodo. I think he was New York's anti-matter. I mean, he just neutralized the midfield enough. New York plays a very aggressive pressing style in which nobody can get on the ball long enough, and he was he cleaned everything up out of that. And I say everything, he cleaned a lot of that up for us, and I felt he steadied the ship for our midfield to be able to do just enough. The game was ugly. It was going to be ugly, and Obi makes it ugly for other teams, and that's his beauty for us. He's the destroyer for us. And I'll say the worst, and it's not my worst, but I'm going to argue, not disagree. I'm going to pack. I think the worst award missing is Obi not being in the Newcomer of the Year award. I even think it's worse than Pat Noonan. And I know that's a hot take per se, but there's a lot of good coaches, and that's the only reason why I say that. Obi changed the entire way this team operates, and the success that we get from him, which his stats are not pretty stats. They're not the sexy assists and the goals and the, progressive passes necessarily all the time. He is the guy who wrecks the midfield for the opposing teams, and he allowed us to do a lot of things. So Obi is my one, the guy that I felt the most, was done the hardest on. The worst for me, though, from this game is the 2 yellow cards for Hags and Miazga. The Miazga one, debatable on whether it was earned or not. You got to be a little bit smarter than that. But, if they get a yellow card in this next game, they sit out the conference final if we win. So, that's the worst for me is I don't want those guys to have to play tentative against Philly, and that yellow card, those yellow cards can produce that kind of effect because they want to play in the conference finals if it happens. So that's my worst. Sorry, I've talked a little bit too long. So
No, you're fine. We're going to touch on the yellow cards again later as well because it's a big deal, and there's 2 more as well. So a lot of players on yellow card watch, I guess, as we go into that game, and then we'll go over the rules as when that resets and everything a little bit later. We got some more best and worst here. Williams, best 2-1 win on the road, and we stay in the East on Thursday. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And I see a lot of fans getting ready to travel to Philadelphia or hang out here. So it's pretty cool. Best New York Red Bulls. All right. We got a fan of the Red Bulls here. Their training staff are magically healing all of their players from Marty. They did a great job. I tell you what, I saw a lot of people hurt and magically got better. Worst, not being at home. I know, right? How awesome would it be to play these games here with all of our fans packed? We would pack TQL it'd be standing room only. So next year, maybe the year after, we have to get some of the. I didn't realize how awesome these home playoff spots could be, and I want it for all of us.
Yeah.
I want to be with everybody.
New York City just won, so the only chance we have to host it will be if there's an MLS Cup against Minnesota.
Yeah, you're right. And New York game just ended as we started this show. 2-0. Was that what it finished?
3-0.
I missed the last one then. Okay. My best, finally being at a big match that is a win. I haven't had that happen since Open Cup, because New York knocked us out then after that great run. And then we had some rough times in USL playoffs. So this was it. I flew to Tampa Bay for a USL playoff game. Ken, you were with me, and we went down there to see a
2-0
USL
loss.
win.
No, we lost. We lost.
No, a win for somebody. No, but that was a bummer. Traveling all the way there I now have experience traveling all the way there and winning, and it is so much better than boarding that flight or that car ride home with the big L in the pocket. So really appreciate FC Cincinnati making my weekend.
Their $600 plane flight tickets felt a lot cheaper, didn't they? Now with the win,
you don't care as much. I'll tell you what. The worst is the start time. You guys were complaining about this start time. I'm complaining about Thursday. Oh, Thursday. How many more of us could go to that game if it was on a weekend? How many more of us could just make that trip or figure it out? Maybe get a bus going, a van. Wish I could go, but the bosses won't have that one. So what do we have on the other side of the division? Montreal and New York now?
Yeah, Montreal and NYC. Hopefully Montreal just creams them to death. But I'd rather tell the truth. I'd rather face Montreal than I'm not looking too far ahead. I'd rather face Montreal than New York City.
I checked. The New York flights are way cheaper than the Montreal ones, though. Right, like as of today. The top half of our show is sponsored by Apollo Home, the premium home service provider in Cincinnati. They pride themselves on awesome customer service, expert technicians, and 7-day-a-week service. For all your home heating, cooling, electric, and plumbing needs, reach out to Apollo. Visit apollohome.com to book a service visit online or give them a call to speak to one of their super cool customer service team members. Let them know you listen to CST. Seriously, they will get your technician on site for free if you just say CST. That's right. It normally costs $79. It's waived. Just tell them, hey, I hang out with these soccer guys on Monday nights. Recap. Let's talk about the match. FC Cincinnati kept the formation, the tried and true. We've seen this formation before. Rolled out, started the match, having trouble keeping step for step, though, as that game started with the Red Bulls. A little bit of a frustrating start. What's going through your guys' mind? You're hoping for an early goal, an early, I don't know, get ahead there. I always think you want to get ahead against the Red Bulls because of the press.
Tell me a team you don't want to get ahead of.
It's a valid point.
I'm just saying. No, I felt like we needed to get through the first 20 minutes without conceding a sloppy goal, because I just thought New York was going to press pretty hard and make it rough on us, and they did. I know Lukinas was somebody was saying, Jeff was saying Luquinez was on the ground for 12 minutes. I almost feel like he benefited us somewhat in that, just because he slowed the game down in some ways. I hated it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I loved it, because it's not soccer, but it almost felt like it backfired in the long term, as he didn't allow New York Red Bulls to get any flow going either with the same tactics. So I just felt like get through the first 20 minutes being tied is always the goal of an away team. And I say always, it's generally your thought process is to just get through the first 20 minutes without giving the home team anything to cheer for. And we didn't sneak it out. There was a couple little close calls, but nothing extremely dangerous. So I thought the team did really well in the first 20 minutes, even through the first half, to manage the Red Bulls tactics.
Yeah, after watching some of these other teams in the playoffs, I thought we presented ourselves quite well. Yep. There's been some New York City just beat up on Miami that whole game. Even when they walked in the half 0-0, we walked in the half 0-0. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit, guys, because that first half was boring. It was a lot of Red Bull players on the ground. It was blah. But we go into the half though, and where are you at now? 0-0. We're still in this thing. All we know is, well, we're in it. We got a chance. But also, I'm not feeling great, because it's been a wishy-washy half.
I wasn't feeling great because we had gotten into the half without scoring first. With the two games that we faced against them early in the season, we scored first. We gave up the penalty. They tied it. So we went into half with 1-1 games. But we saw that we could score. In this game, going into the half 0-0, you're like, well, what do you do? How do you improve this team if you really don't have much to go on? I will say that it's good that we had those 12 minutes at the end, because that really takes this game and slices it in two. Anything from the 50th minute before, I think, was all New York's game. After they scored, it suddenly became our game. And I'm sure we'll focus on this. If it wasn't for after that goal, Lewis Morgan going down and pulling himself out of that game, we could have lost this game. So that at halftime, it was just hard to really predict anything without having that first goal.
The worst thing for me was just reading Twitter, because all of a sudden, all these people, all these analysts come up with these stats, right? And our stat of going in at that point was not great. I think I saw one where if FC Cincinnati gives up the first goal, we've lost most of the game. Actually, we had lost every game up until the end of the season, and then we kind of turned that around just a little bit. So stay off Twitter at halftime, guys. It's dangerous. Let me tell you, I just didn't know what else to do with myself.
I thought they were actually. I think if folks went back and rewatched the first half, I think there were some opportunities. I think New York definitely grew into the game. Sorry to go back a little bit. But New York definitely muddied the game up, probably between the 30 and 45th minute marks. And I mean, as much grief as Luquinez is getting for being on the ground so much, I think he was finding dangerous spaces in transition opportunities in FCC's defensive half. But I think there was a Alphys Powell flubbed cross on a breakaway. They definitely had some chances.
Yeah.
I think the Red Bulls kind of probably were the better team in the first half, but I don't think it's by as much as maybe we're remembering. I also haven't rewatched again, but yeah. So after that really golazo from Morgan, it looked like he tweaked his groin. That's what it looked like from my perspective, at least. I couldn't tell if it was on the shot or in the celebration. But he pretty much immediately knew that he was coming off, and there was not enough magic spray for that. So he hobbled off, and I think that really benefited them, because they had to bring on a defender, Sean Nealis, who was eventually and after I went back to the first half, I'll skip way ahead. He is the defender who Sergio Santos beat down the left wing and first beat for pace, and then held him off before squaring that ball to Vasquez. So
Yeah, I'm trying to tell a story here. You're jumping all over the place.
Yeah, I was going to say. Well, where are we at on your story, Boston, before I say anything?
All right, here we go. I'm going to go into storytelling mode. Noonan goes in the half. He gives a beautiful halftime speech. The guys are fired up. They come out, hit the ground running, and Lewis Morgan rockets a Golazo from the way up of top of the box. So I will admit I slumped in my seat at that point. Like, what do you do? Where the playoffs were down 1, and that's not how you want it to go. It's not how Lewis Morgan wanted to go, because Nate, I heard officially, and those that are asking in the comments are asking us how he got hurt. I heard it was via celebration. I don't know if that's the official New York stamp print, but it sounds like it was the New York fans are saying it was the celebration that he tweaked his groin and of course goes down. It was hard to tell for me at first if it was real or not because of all of the other so-called injuries, but that one definitely, when he stayed down, you knew.
Yeah.
Ken,
I was going to say first you slumped down into your seat after they scored. So you're saying you reverted back to 2021 Boston.
For a moment. I picked myself back up.
This is 2022 FCC. Nobody can keep us from scoring. Keep the positive thoughts. So we knew at worst we were going to go into the 90th minute tied because we were going to grab a goal somewhere. What I was going to say after that Lewis Morgan shot, which was phenomenal. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I mean, I watched that shot and I kept watching it. It looked like it hit a second gear mid-flight and picked up speed. It was just a beautiful shot. So just to be clear, but in the post-game presser, Noonan said he thought that goal actually was beneficial to FCC, and I'm exaggerating on the word beneficial, but helped wake the team up and get them to play more aggressive. And it 100% did change. I know Morgan going out impacted the game, but I think it changed the mentality of the team to open up and become more aggressive. Again, I said, I thought the most important part was to try and not get scored on the first 20 minutes. I feel like we didn't get out of that mode until New York did score. And then we opened up our offense. So in a weird way, it benefited FCC for him to score. And you don't ever want anybody to score, but it just seemed like that when you look at it in hindsight. So that's my take on your story at the point in time in which Lewis Morgan scores, and I'll stop there with any more comments.
Well, I don't remember much after that except for a Broadway level performance by New York. They did snap out of it a little bit once it was tied. All of a sudden, New York, as the game progressed and it got more dangerous for them, the acting got a little bit worse better and better. It's kind of just ceased to exist. Who got fouled on the PK?
That was Barreal. Barreal. He had, I think there was a quick foul on Acosta, and then he did a quick kick to Barreal. There was a little bit of muddling in the middle. And then when they were trying to clear it out, Reyes, I think, walloped Barreal's leg, took it out from under him. That was a penalty. I mean, you're aiming for if you're aiming for the ball, that's one thing. But if you follow through and you take someone's leg out, that should be a penalty all day. I will say this. I think after Morgan went down, I saw the team wanting to attack Reyes a little bit more on his side. They knew that he was not typically the right back playing there for Red Bull. And so they just, I think they brought in Santos, they brought in Kubo, and when they were playing more aggressively, they took it into that section. The other thing is that after Morgan went down, New York just suddenly forgot how to pass a soccer ball. Their passing percentage went from 70% to 43.
So I have a question. Is that because Morgan went out, or is that because FC Cincinnati started leveled the playing field with the score? I
think a lot of it is being aggressive. I mean, Obi causing troubles in the middle. He's the one who started that second goal, really, by just pressing a throw-in of all things. So I think a lot of it is the midfield finally, waking up a little bit and getting more aggressive with interrupting passes. And the other thing is just targeting the right people. And, I think that's, having Morgan out of the game certainly helps as well.
Yeah, when you have multiple factors like that, I'm always confused.
Let's not forget the Junior Moreno disallowed goal that came back for an offsides because it hit Jeff Cameron, which was offsides. But
that was Morgan-esque, wasn't it?
It was a good hit from the top of the box. But for about however long that replay, that VAR review took, I was just like, oh man, we're gonna have to have another one of these VAR conversations, and I was pretty happy that was not the case ultimately at the end of the match.
Yeah, I had people ask on the train back what that was about because it was really hard to tell from the stadium. They didn't show. I had
no idea. And we have like the little screens in the press box, but I had no idea. Somebody replied to a CST tweet, and that was helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought it hit a defender at first when it scored. And so I was like, it's good. And then they showed the replay, and I'm like, it's coming back, and we don't have any argument. So, yeah. I mean,
the reason it was confusing for even Red Bull fans in the stadium was that we just saw Junior, who was clearly not offside, kick a goal. And then it was the defenders were just all mixed down there. So to say that the defender was in the view of the goalkeeper, blocking the goalkeeper or something like that. Did you say it hit him?
It hit Cameron.
It hit him. It hit Cameron. Cameron was sort of trekking his way back. You could see it from the goalkeeper's camera. It just bounced off him and then went into the goal. And
what unfortunate luck.
Put two and two together, and it's like, yeah, you can't argue against it.
Okay, well, that answers that mystery for those of us that haven't rewatched it and we're stuck there without a replay. Noonan uses psychic powers, is what I have written down here, to sub on Santos and Kubo because he somehow knew exactly what that team needed. Some would say maybe it's good coaching. I'm going to say he's a psychic and he saw the future. But either way, he takes out Junior and Brenner. And you're right. One of you said at the top of the show, FCC Twitter went nuts. All of a sudden, everybody who's trusted Noonan all year just decided that he had made a humongous mistake because you took out 18-goal tied leader Brenner. Terrible decision?
No, obviously not.
Clearly not.
But no, he described it. He did. Oh, go ahead, Nate. Go ahead.
I think we were going to reference the same quote, so feel free to take
I was just going to say, he said this is the beauty. This is one of the things that I enjoy about Noonan is he utilizes his coaches, all of them. And he said they sat there and communicated however they do on the sidelines. And they knew they needed to have a change of pace, some different way to attack New York. And Sergio was that. And, the shocking part to me on that is, and I'm just saying this, you would think Brenner and him are more alike, but they're just not. Brenner comes back deeper into the field, doesn't like to play over the top kind of ball and stretch the field as much as he has the ability to, but he doesn't stretch the field like Santos does. So, as you said, he's psychic.
It's not an exaggeration to say that Santos is like one of the fastest players in the league. So him running off of a defender's back shoulder is, yeah. Like Ken said, Brenner wants to find those pockets, and Santos is willing to make those runs that lead to the second goal.
I have a feeling that he might have made the decision based totally on maybe aerials, getting the ball upfield quick and diverting the passes. Vasquez is better at that than Brenner is. At that point of the game, he had won 4 aerials. Brenner hadn't won any. So maybe that is the small deciding factor, but you could have flipped a coin. I think either Brenner or Vasquez pulled out because neither at that point were really looking great.
Yeah, it's an interesting call. I think because Santos is a player that hasn't maybe been the star sub that you've wanted in some of the end of the season matches, and then to go ahead and take that risk, there's an inherent risk taking off a proven goal scorer and putting on one that's had a rougher start, but it was the speed. Noonan just knew that game needed the speed. He even said so after the match: pace, 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 and it changed things.
Here's a crazy stat for Brenner. He had nine. I want to emphasize that 9 touches all game while he was in. He was not impactful, and it's not something that's his. I won't say his fault. It just wasn't his game, and Santos came in and changed it. And I want to say this. Actually, I'm going to jump to the end after winning. I was watching the team celebrate it. I wanted to look for Brenner because he's always upset when he subbed off. He was hugging, high-fiving, happy as can be. So I think he has bought into this system and he understood it wasn't his best match. He had a heck of a header chance, but outside of that, 9 touches. That's not an effective forward at that point in time. Not his fault either. All his fault.
Well, we got to move on here eventually and not talk about the Philly and et cetera, because we've dwelled on this game, but it's a great game to dwell on, and that's kind of why we're hitting the highlights and the touches here. I would be remiss, though, if I did not bring up Vasquez's record sprinting, whatever that crazy tweet was after the game. I don't think it's an official stat, but Vasquez was wicked fast. Santos and Vasquez both had to beat guys in a foot race and maintain control of the ball and make a perfect pass. A lot of things had to align. I wonder what the statistics are on all those things happening together for Vasquez to just smash in a goal and beat U.S. men's national team defender Aaron Long. Woo! There was a lot of talk about that goal. 2-1, we're up.
I mean, you can sort of look at this in many different aspects. I look at it the way that the play started, where New York threw a real high throw in, and really Obi pounced on that thing like he was a lion going after a gazelle. He put his foot on that, and once that happened, then you saw the forwards taking off and knowing exactly how to play that.
Yeah, we switched the graphic on the TV screen to our other sponsor, Suero X. Of course, they are our longtime and friendly sports drink sponsor. We recommend you highly check out their product. We've all tried it. We've given it away at CST live shows. It is amazing, and its new flavor, lemon lime, is out. It's not so new anymore because I guess it's been out for 4 or 5 months now, but it is doing well, and they've just been selling more of it. Yeah, I think you can buy it on SueroX.com, Amazon. Locally, you can find it at Jungle Gyms. Support SueroX and support CST at the same time. It's pretty awesome. We play Philadelphia soon, really soon. MLS decided that there should be no breaks between these playoff games because we are going straight into a 4 or 5 day off. And then boom, and then Philly fans are worried about the opposite problem. They have a bye. And so how does a team do playing off of a bye when maybe they're just a little bit off their schedule versus a team that just played and ran to death? Who gets an edge in something like that?
I don't know. The bye doesn't really seem long enough to be really negatively impactful for Philly, unfortunately. But at the same time, they've played shorter. They've had games with shorter rest probably this year, and I think there was reporting that they were out having a regen day today, so a couple days of training before Thursday, and you don't really have to. I mean, I'm sure it'll be in the back of the mind of the coaching staff and the sports science staff about like what you would do in a hypothetical Eastern Conference final. But you don't really have to worry about that until it happens. So you don't have to be thinking about the rest of the season it's getting through Thursday. So that probably makes their job somewhat easier. Hopefully it won't be a major issue, and like, they won't go to extra time and have to play 120 minutes and everybody looks dead. But I don't think it'll have a major impact on either team at this point.
Yeah, Rupesh bringing up a comment on the chat. Said both number 1 seeds lost last year in the playoffs.
So I think it's a shorter bye this year. So if like Philly only has like 9 days, and there was an international break baked into last year's, so it's just like too long.
All right. Well, that's good to know. Jacob had an article on CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. It's a pretty cool website we've heard of and promote every once in a while. And it talked all about FC Cincinnati's games this year. He went back and looked at every single match the team played in, whether it was 3 days in between, 4 days in between, 5 days in between. Overall, FCC does fairly well on a short break. It hasn't been a terrible performance. There's all kinds of games where we scored first or we scored later. The one bummer statistic I read on there is that this particular break, like the number of games this exact number of games between New York and Philly, we have not done well on, but we've done really good on like 3-day breaks for some reason. So it's interesting to see how that all goes. I'm not sure statistically how all that factors in, because I'm not one of these stat guys, but I would check out that article if you just want to flip through there and just see how FCC's done. My takeaway was, of course, the home bias fan, is that we do okay. And I don't think it's going to be one of these things that just kills us. If it said we lost 9 out of 10 games, I'd be worried. Anybody have a chance? Anyone have any strong feelings on superstition? Is this all superstition? Right here?
I don't have any strong feelings. I wish we had one more day of just rest, and I actually blame it on MLS scheduling. I'm like, why didn't we play some of these games on Friday? Start on Friday and play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if this is how they want to schedule the games. Or my preference would have been, why not play them on Friday and Saturday, just in general? And then if you're going to play it on Thursday, the bye week, the teams with the bye play on a Thursday. It's one more day for rest. You don't want. I don't think you want rest to be an issue. Is probably my biggest issue with it. You want teams to be sort of on level playing grounds as much as possible. I get the counter of having too much rest is a bad thing too. So I'm taking the other side a little bit on that. That's all.
We will have a March to Match Day show that comes out here in a couple days, maybe tomorrow even. But it is going to highlight. We're going to go talk to Philly podcasts, and we're going to go figure out what is going on over there. The one thing we do know is that Philly may be without Alejandro. Is it Bedoya? And that is a big piece of their puzzle. They're very talented. They have not lost at home this year. Jeff, I think you have receipts on that.
I have the receipts. That is a number that a lot of people will point at. You take a look at their record at home: 12 wins, 5 draws, no losses. Great. Everyone would say that deserves to be a number 1 seed, but you have to look closer at the stats. Take a look at the playoff teams that they've played at home and the non-playoff teams that they've played at home. They've, games against San Jose, Charlotte, Houston, DC United, they bombed them. 10 wins out of 10 with a plus 35 goal differential. That's incredible. Take a look at the 7 games they played against teams that are in the playoffs. 2 wins, 5 draws, 0 losses. Only a plus 5 goal differential. So I'm just saying that there are numbers here that say they shouldn't have as much of an advantage as people will say they have.
That's actually really helpful. I did not dive into it that hard. So I appreciate you looking at that. That's pretty cool. And one of those was us. One of those 5 ties as well.
One of those 5 ties was us. You take a look at their away stats, even worse, when they're playing teams on the road, their goal differentials vanish as well. But if they're playing a playoff team at home, I feel a little bit more confident.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. We are at the end of the show, Jeff. We're gonna pick our scores, because there's no Growler Cup now. Ken, for some reason, has killed it off. So we're going to take a look. We're gonna make our own mini cup between the four of us. All right.
I gotta run.
Are you headed out?
Trying not to make this pick.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
Well,
true. Yeah, you have to be neutral, being in the press box.
Well, and I just have absolutely no idea. I need more prep time on this, man. You can't spring this on me. All right,
you've got 5 minutes probably.
Okay.
Somebody, one of you, give us the yellow card update for FC Cincinnati. I heard Miazga and Hagland at the top of the show.
Santos, and I can't remember who the fourth is.
Ray Gaddis. He like the last play of the game practically.
All right, so we got Gaddis, who is definitely a sub in usually. Santos, also our guy, after a 70-minute mark or something. 2 starters. You talked about it. Miazga, Hagland. Shout out to Hagland's parents, who I saw at the game and told to listen to CST unabashedly.
I don't know if he was. I think he was wearing it at the airport too, and I saw him in post game wearing it. But he was just wearing an incredible bucket hat with skyline chili with cheese conies on it. It was just outstanding, 10 out of 10. Would buy if afforded the opportunity. So shouts to Nick Hagland.
Man,
when you
got it.
When you have no hair, you got to cover that dome as much as possible. So I recommend Boston getting a bucket hat.
Is the bucket hat a thing? Because somebody had a sign.
I don't know.
All right, so I'm going to post it in the show notes on the website. If you want to go there and look, there's a picture our photographer caught of a fan that had this coney. And I wish I could remember what it was, but it was a sign. So I'm kind of wondering if the bucket hat is a thing that I've just missed all season. But yeah, we'll figure that out. Well, let's put that on there. And if you guys know, go ahead and comment on this tweet or Facebook or wherever you saw this link. All right. So anyway, yellow cards. That's pretty serious business, though, because here's the rules. If you get a yellow card in this game, you are suspended in the conference championship. No good. So if FC Cincinnati beats Philadelphia, we're playing either New York or Montreal, and that match could theoretically have any of those 4 guys out, or anyone else that would get a double yellow or a red card in this next one. After that, however, if you get a yellow in the conference final, it doesn't matter. It won't matter in the championship. So just a big shout out for MLS changing the rules every year on that, and we need to explain it again. All right, let's flip to the Growler Cup. Your 5 minutes are up. Ken?
Everybody's going to hate me, but it's got to be tradition because I wrote it, and I'm picking a 1-0 loss.
You're picking a 1-0 loss in the playoff game?
I got to stay with tradition. I got to stay with tradition of we're just not going to win. I've got to put it in my head mentally, bury it in there, and just, be ecstatic when it doesn't happen. So I'm just I'm staying with my tried and true right now.
I take it all back. At the top of the show, I said Ken's happy. He's a happy person now. It's all a lie. He tricked us. All right, I said I wouldn't judge, but I'm totally judging. Nate.
Sure. I'll go 2-1 win. Why not? They've played Philadelphia really well this year. Maybe better than anybody else in the league. With that 1-1 draw in Philly and then the 3-1 win at home. There's just something about how the Red Bulls match up really well against FC Cincinnati. So, that's the reason why it was my best. They just, for whatever reason, struggle against that pressure. And for whatever reason, Cincinnati just does a really good job against Philly at that narrow diamond and being able to move the ball laterally and stretch it and find space to Vasquez, who's really dominated. Philadelphia's really good center backs. Brenner's also played well, I believe. So yeah, I'll go 2-1 win. You know, we'll see. But
Plus 90 minutes or in 90 minutes?
oh God, I hope it's in 90 minutes.
Me too. I can't take the blood pressure. Jeff Tebbets.
I'm going to use the 2018 Nashville SC argument and say that they didn't lose against us in the USL playoffs. I will say that it goes draw for 120 minutes and we lose in penalty kicks, just because, man, Blake is such a good guy between the sticks. He's hard to score on, whether it's during the run of play or during penalty kicks. So I'll say we lose a close one from penalty kicks.
Yeah,
But it will not count as a loss.
I'm probably going to this and probably going home that night. Please don't put that on me, Jeff. I can't.
Rookie.
It's going to be a late night regardless. I don't need 45 extra.
Sorry, man.
Okay.
Wow. All right. Well, I gotta pick the energy back up. This podcast is going off the rails with you guys. That's the problem, listener. We have too many logical heads here that overthink things. These guys are writers, philosophers, whatever they're doing during the day, and sometimes you overthink it. That's what's going on here tonight.
We're snake oil salesmen. How do you think we got all these fans?
I guess it's definitely going to be a win, guys. It's going to be a win. We're going on. There is nothing that I have seen FC Cincinnati playing Philly in the past that tells me we're going to lose this game. 3-1. That's what the last one was. 3-1. The only game besides maybe one or two others Philadelphia fell apart in, and this is it. I think the combination of Brenner, Vasquez, and Acosta is too much for their defense to overcome. We've shorted up. We're winning in 90 minutes. We are winning 2-0. They don't even get in the net. All right. Which of us will be correct? Thursday is the day we find out. If all of us are wrong, well, we just need to close up shop, guys. We had 4 chances here. And we picked all over the place. Well, one thing we do know is that it will not end in a draw. It's impossible. I'm surprised one of you didn't pick it anyway.
I did. I said it would be a draw, and then we'd be arguing if it's a loss or a win by the other team.
Oh, yeah. It still doesn't count. It's not a draw. All right. CST has put out their annual awards. You guys all voted in record number. So we want to give a shout out to the listener player of the year, Roman Celentano. I did not think Roman was going to win this vote. In fact, the staff had a separate vote. We all voted Acosta. And the fans just rejected that completely. And we're like, you guys are wrong. It's Celentano. Any surprises? None of you said to Celentano. No, I don't think either one.
Oh.
None of the 4 of you.
No. I said Vasquez, but I mean, I think a lot of people saw Vasquez having a better season than he did last year, by the way he played at the end of last year. So I can see MVP votes being to someone different.
I mean, I it's a hard one, right? There are a lot of good players on this team. This has been a dream year. So we had to get these done, though. And I kind of was like, no, we should wait to push them out. But you know what happened? These MLS beat writers, who is submitting these picks? You guys got a newcomer of the year. None of them make the playoffs. You got all kinds of weird recommendations. Chicharito as MVP. He wasn't even MVP. He wasn't even the MVP of the Galaxy game versus Nashville. He didn't even no goals, no assists. What are we talking about this guy for?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's why we jumped on the CST awards. If you want to go see, if you haven't seen it yet, we have all kinds of award categories. There should be a separate area on our website just for it, and you can find out. I think we had Barrial as the upcomer, basically the player,
unsung hero,
defied all odds. We didn't even think he would be starting at part of the year, and so big shout out to Barrial. That one's doing well, but every player on this team theoretically deserves to win an award for most of them because it's been a great year and everybody's made their contributions for sure. We are running out of time, which is crazy because I feel like I haven't got through half of the stuff that I want to get through. But we are going to real quick give a shout out to everybody that keeps CST free. Like I said, all these articles, everything on this website, our writers, we get people in the box, press box, photographers on the field. Everything takes cash to run, unfortunately. I wish I could do it all through fan support, but I can't. And so Ree Lee, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Robert Stevens, Laurel Failer, Matthew Adamczyk, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Brian and Brad Weigel, Brian Gills, Dan Alberts, Will Kychek, Ian Rexroad, Augustus Caceres, Bill Antonitis, Carl Feit, Jeremy Schrand, Kyle Pohl, Christina Sharma, Rupesh, Tom Beaversdorf, Jason, who is super average, John Haskell, Ryan Ernst, Mary Lou, Wes Anastasi, Rob Pierce, Clifford Adams, Thomas Steps, Pierce Johnson, Mike Parentis, Mr. and Mrs. Wiederhold, Rob Gassell, Kevin Day, Jamie Smed, Alex Carnegus, Mike Bowman, Patrick Lahani, Dave Tingler, Brett Sova, Chris Hubbard, Kevin Cooney, Joe Max, Jack Emery, Sarah Gorman, David Moore, Bob Ryan, Ryan Durkin, Bart Labita, Mark Neuenschweier, Robert Triple, Joe Lohr, Bill Leopold, Maureen Demore, and Jose, our loyal listener. Thanks for supporting Cincinnati Soccer Talk, and thanks for paying the bills all. We appreciate it so much. And I think it's time for your final thoughts. Jeffrey Tebbets.
So
Maybe.
Tripped up a little bit there. Sorry. Yeah, my closing thoughts are basically because the World Cup is coming up, we're going to see all of these playoffs getting smushed together. So, you know, MLS is one thing, but around the entire thing, you got the NWSL. Their semifinals are coming up. Their final will be in October 29th. It's in DC. So, hey, if you're in the area there, go and support the women. USL 1 has theirs. The USL Championship has theirs, all before the World Cup. Go out and see a playoff game if you're not in Cincinnati, you know, or even if you are in Cincinnati, go down to Louisville and boo them. So, you know, have fun with all this postseason before you get to cheer for your national team.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. It's a pleasure having you tonight. Ken Hedger.
Final thoughts. We're in the playoffs, baby. We're in the playoffs. Second round. That's awesome. But I did want to give a shout out to, and Boston brought up the Growler Cup. We had some Growler Cup winners. It was James Denbo who came in first, followed by Dave Tangler, and then Bob Ryan who came in third. So next year when the Growler Cup comes around, guys, anybody who supports CST through Patreon, you're got a free sign up and you get a reward at the end of we have 3 rounds. So I'm going to try and change it up a little bit next year. Let's continue the fun and come on UFCC.
That's right. We'd make little tweaks. We learn as we go. Growler Cup's had a few tweaks here and there. It gets better every year. So we will continue that mission. Nate, you're up next.
Yeah, I don't know. Just enjoy this. I certainly will be. Did not expect to be in the situation we were talking about in our, just when we were on before the show started, about how, you know, last year FC Cincinnati lost 12 in a row to end the season, and things really didn't seem like they could get any worse, but look at where we are now. So whatever happens on Thursday, I'll be enjoying it, and I hope you are too.
It's good. It's a good lead out. Oh, this is awesome. It is freaking awesome to be a part of this ride. And I've got that Open Cup feeling that I had back in the day where anything can happen. It's one game, guys. All it is one game at a time. All we have to do is beat Philly. Yeah, that's it. All we got to do is beat Philly. After that, all we have to do is beat New York or Montreal. No big deal. It's just one game. So we're just a few games away, and we only have to take them one at a time, and magic is real, and good things happen to good people. And I have $20 that I bet at the beginning of the season that will turn into $2,000 if this happens. So I'm pretty excited. Who would have thought? Thanks for listening to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We appreciate all of you. And of course, this is a fun ride. So let's party on. Let's have a blast. Let's get to Thursday and celebrate together. And hopefully we are back here next Monday calling Ken and Jeff idiots. Thanks for listening. Bye.